With GTA 6 on the horizon nearby, I thought it'd be a good idea to play all the GTAs I haven't played. And I haven't played GTA Vice City yet, which is a game that I've heard a lot about. I mean, so many people call it their favorites, and many people talk about how great it is. And so, I decided, I'm going to play it for the first time in 2025. Let's answer the question. Does GTA Vice City still hold up? Is it still good? Now, before I get started, I want to say two things. One, I played this under Definitive Edition, which I know people get mad about for some reason. Well, I know the reason. Definitive Edition isn't the true experience. I know, for example, a lot of the radio stations that were in the original game are just not available because of Rockstar not wanting to pay the license for the songs. But you also have to understand that the original games are no longer offered on Steam, and frankly, if it's not on Steam, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to look for it. That's just my mindset. The second thing is I want to make it clear that I've played this game for the first time this year recently. The reason why I say that is because I'm going to have a completely different perspective than most people, especially because I'm a younger person. I'm not even 20 yet, so most people who probably played this game or are going to comment on this video are probably way older than me. In fact, they're probably like 20 something when I was in my dad's sack, okay? And the reason why I bring that up is because you gotta understand that I'm gonna have a different perspective. Alright? Anyways, let's get started. Alright, let's start off by talking about the story. Now, I'm gonna just give a disclaimer. I'm gonna briefly go over most of the main events of the story, and very briefly, because I do not want this video to be very long, and it's not an analysis of the story, so I'm gonna miss a lot of details, probably, and that's how it's gonna have to be. But I'm going to go over the points that I think were the best, or maybe even some problematic points. Starting off with the opening. So basically the opening has you play as Tommy Vercetti, as we all know, and he's sent down to Vice City by Sonny Forelli, the leader of the Forelli family, who basically wants to use him as a way to make more money down in Florida. And they're set up in New York right now. And based off the opening cutscene, you can already tell that Sonny Forelli is just using Tommy as a pawn on a chessboard, right? He doesn't really care about him. It's just like a business relationship. You could tell. He doesn't actually like him. So, of course, the first thing you do as Tommy is you do a drug deal, which gets shot up by some randos, and everyone dies except for you, which, yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's a little too convenient the way the cutscene looks. It's a little convenient, how he survives, because everyone else around him dies, but him, like, okay, bro, if you say so. We find out, oh, so Sonny is obviously furious.
I don't have the money.
That was my money, Tommy! My money!
And dude, the delivery, by the way, of Sonny, like Sonny's voice acting is phenomenal. I think if they cast anyone else as Sonny, I honestly think it wouldn't hit as well because the way he like is talking about that's my money and that phone call, he really emphasizes he's a problem. Like you could clearly tell he's a problem. Anyways, the stakes are basically set out where basically Tommy has to find out one, who shot up that drug deal, get that money back before Sonny comes down, which I think is a good way to start off the story because now you're curious in who shot it up. That's in the back of your mind. And in the back of your mind, you're also wondering when is Sonny coming down and how am I going to get that money back because Tommy has nothing. He's brand new to Vice City. And so the first couple, missions of the game basically have you meeting the important people of Vice City. And then eventually you end up getting word of mouth of your first lead of who might be behind the shooting, which ends up being a chef who is known for selling cocaine in the alleys. And so you go up to him and you end up killing him while interrogating him. Now, when I first played this game, I'm going to be honest, I thought, wow, that's so stupid. Wow, Tommy's an idiot. He just killed him. And then you realize it's character building. Why did the game force you to kill him? And you realize, oh, it's probably because it's showing, oh yeah, Tommy's just doesn't know how to control his emotions. He needs that information and he's not getting it, so he's obviously going to go overboard. Which, is something that you can see throughout the rest of the game. Sometimes he goes overboard and does too much. This is where we also meet Lance Vance. And so Lance Vance shows up and basically is like this mysterious guy who's just like, oh, I'm here to help. And then basically says,
I'm gonna go see what I can dig up. I'll be watching you, Tommy.
now, I'm just going to say here, we all know that Lance Vance betrays you in the game, and I think the way they do Lance Vance's betrayal, I didn't like in my first playthrough. When you come back and really analyze the story, you realize very quickly that Lance Vance's betrayal wasn't as random as you think because when you look at how he's introduced, and this is what I like about this betrayal. When you look at the how he's plays throughout the game, he is kind of just a nuisance and a weirdo if you really think about it. Like he's a red flag because this guy comes out of nowhere while and knows about what you're doing, right? He literally says, "Oh, wow, you just killed, a potential lead." And you don't question it, right? You're not thinking, "Oh my God." Like at least for me, I was like, "Dude, who is this guy?" But like I didn't think about the fact that he just knew that. And then, he literally says, "Oh, I'll be watching you." Yo, what? He didn't even give you his name. Another detail I want to mention now before I forget is that, Lance Vance is involved in this because of the fact that he's literally part of the drug deal. If you look at the opening scene, he's in that drug deal in the chopper. And if you played Vice City Stories, which I didn't play it, but I've heard some stuff about it. Apparently his brother was also in the deal, which is why he's involved in this. So obviously, he's gonna know about what you're doing because he saw you there. You were the only survivor besides him. So obviously he's gonna be tracking you and seeing what you're doing because he has similar interests to you. Anyways, you get your first phone, which is pretty nice. And then someone calls the phone and because they think it's the chef, and you find out Ricardo Diaz's, name comes up, and now you kind of get an idea of, oh, Ricardo Diaz might be behind this operation that's ended your drug deal because he turns out to be this massive drug cocaine lord. And the odds are, yeah, he probably is. But you don't know that right now. Alright, and then another mission that comes around this time is Cortez's mission. Cortez, is, by the way, is the guy who helped, give support over the drug deal. From what I understand. I could be wrong about that. But basically, Cortez finds out someone, knew about the drug deal beforehand and starts spilling about it. One of his men. So he goes and has you kill him off. And this is kind of an important mission to me just because of the fact that Tommy ends up killing him. Which, if you really think about it, it's another example of Tommy not really thinking and just kind of doing what his emotions are leading him to do rather than actually thinking. Because if you really thought about it, you could kill him. But think about it. You could have interrogated him, got information about it. Why did he tell people? Who did he tell? But instead he just chainsaws him to death. Which, I just wanted to point that out because it's another example of Tommy kind of not thinking straight. Eventually, you'll do a mission for Cortez where you watch over a drug deal of Ricardo Diaz. You end up successfully, killing all the men who end up obviously coming to the scene to try to ruin the drug deal because, of course, GTA. And now you work for Ricardo Diaz because he likes you. I love this part of the game because it switches from Sonny being the main villain to someone who's actually in Vice City, which is nice, change of pace, because at this point in the game, Sonny doesn't do anything. Like, he doesn't call you really, and he doesn't really make himself known, so you kind of forget about him, low-key. And so, of course, now you're working with Carlos Diaz, who turns out to be this just absolute, like, horrible human being. Like, he got a huge ego because he's got all this money, and he's got anger issues. He's just crazy. And I love it because of the fact that you clearly hate him, but you have to do work for him. I love these types of things in GTA games, or just games in general, because it really sets up the idea of I can't wait to get revenge, especially when you're playing someone like, you know, Tommy, because Tommy's a killer. Like, he definitely will pop off Ricardo at some point. He even has a line after one of the missions that literally says, "Oh, this is who owns Liberty City? Lightwork," or something like that. Now, and so one of the things that's very interesting is also Lance Vance gets involved, and this is very clear because of the fact there's literally a cutscene where Ricardo literally calls Lance Vance out and knows him by name, even though he shouldn't really.
Quentin here! Quentin! Quentin! They'll fly you over the area.
And says, "Hey, help me work with Tommy." And the one of the things you might also notice in this cutscene is he calls him by the wrong name, which Lance Vance later plays off because of the fact doesn't really want to expose the fact that he's trying to like watch over Tommy. Because if you really think about it, that should be a red flag for Tommy. Like, why does he have a different name than I know him as, right? Who is he really? No normal person would have no real name. Again, this is another thing that, like, it's another pinpoint of, like, hey, you should be wary of this guy. But, even for me, my first playthrough, I didn't even notice this. Didn't even notice. Like, I noticed it, but I didn't think much of it. Like, you just don't really think about it. But it sets in stone the obvious betrayal. Okay, so then Lance And Tommy agreed that they really need to whack him, but Lance really wants to whack him right now. Tommy says, no, 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 you gotta wait, gotta get the right opportunity, and Lance kind of agrees, but doesn't fully. So this is where things get interesting, because now Lance decides, I'm gonna kill Diaz by myself, even though Tommy said, oh, I can help, I'd be a good protection. And he does it without telling Tommy. Next thing you know, he's captured, and now this spoils everything for Tommy, because now, once he frees Lance, obviously, Ricardo Diaz is not an idiot. He's not gonna just be like, oh yeah, I welcome you. No, he's gonna know they betrayed him. So now he has to kill him and take over the mansion, which he does. I should also mention at this point in the game, Lance Vance keeps telling Tommy that Ricardo Diaz is for sure behind the drug deal bust. He's confident in it. So it really emphasizes the idea that, this is very important anyways. You gotta do this eventually, so you do it. Alright, so unfortunately, this is where the story takes a nosedive. For the worse. Now, I wouldn't blame the story fully, but just how the story progresses the prom. So obviously, as you probably know, if you play this game, once you complete the Ricardo Diaz takeover mission, where you take over his mansion, the game kind of just stops. There's no more missions, and it looks like, oh, well, I'm done. You're not. The game basically uses this mission to show off this new concept of asset missions, or assets, where basically you can buy properties, do some missions for them, and make money off of them. Which is cool. I love that idea. Problem, it hints that you should play them, but it doesn't tell you to. And the reason why I say that is because if you don't know, you have to do some of these in order to progress the main story, which makes sense. And this is why I'm torn on this, because on one hand, the whole point of this game at this point, the main story, is to build up your money and become, rich so that you can pay off Sonny and even have more money for yourself. Because at this point, Tommy realizes he kind of wants to get rid of Sonny and also become the king of Vice City. So obviously, you're going to need businesses and streams of income to do that. And it needs to feel real, right? The story needs to feel like it has a reason for why it's happening. It doesn't, you're not going to get money out of nowhere. Problem is, the way they do it is bad, because they kind of advertise assets as if it's just another piece of side content. The reason why that's a bad thing is because they don't tell you, hey, you gotta do these missions at all. So then you just end up being confused of what to do. I know for me, I literally had no clue on why I couldn't progress the main story, because clearly it's not over. But it's also like, well, where do you go next? But even though I love the side content in this game, I could see people saying, I'm done with this game because they don't want to play side content. A lot of people, if you look at achievement list of games, especially single player games, a lot of people do not play side content games. So this is a huge problem. I mean, I literally had to research how to progress. And people are giving conflicting messages because people don't even know exactly what's going on. Even in 2025, people still have the wrong information. From what I understand, it's buying 5 assets and doing the Printworks asset missions, but that could be wrong. People say you have to do all the assets. Some people say, no, you don't. How are people getting it wrong still? I don't know. But it brings me to the point that, like, if they just told you, it would have been solved. So after doing your assets missions, which can take some time, and assuming you even know that you're supposed to do them, right? You're coming back to the main story. And honestly, this is where I have problems. Because the main story was interesting up to this point. It's pretty good. But then it just takes a nosedive because of the fact that they just kind of ended abruptly. Like, it's like instantly, the second you get back to the main story again, the plot line, it's like, Sonny's back, and then you get in a shootout with him. And that's the game. Like, it's literally 2 missions. It feels so abrupt, especially because of the fact there's a gap in between. And yes, you can play the Printworks missions and they kind of explain what's happening, but I'm gonna be honest, it's not enough. It's just not enough. I feel like they should have made Sonny a little more notable as well, because I'm gonna be honest, Sonny kind of took a backseat for most of the game, but to be honest, he wasn't really a threat in the mind of the player for most of the game, which might sound ridiculous, but if you really think about it, he doesn't really call you all that often, and he's not even in the city. So we don't really know much about him. He just kind of shows up again at the very end. Like, he doesn't, in the mid-half, he does not have a presence at all, unless you think about him. Which, let's be honest, Ricardo Diaz takes over your mind instead. The story ends with Tommy trying to give counterfeit cash and payment, which ends up not working because obviously Lance betrays you and says, hey, Sonny, that's not real cash, and then there's a huge shootout and everyone dies. You know, my problem with Lance Vance's portrayal is it's cool because of the fact they set it up right, but I never really felt attached to Lance Vance. I'm gonna be honest, that's the problem. Because the dialogue of Lance Vance throughout the game is kind of annoying. He's kind of just a pest. Like, he literally will call you throughout the game and tell you, oh, you're not a real friend. I don't even like you. You don't care about me. He's acting manipulative and annoying. Like, at certain points of the game, I kind of just didn't like him anymore. And so when he betrays you, it's shocking, but it doesn't hit you like a truck. Because you're not attached to him like that at that point in the game. You don't really like him like that. I think most people can agree with me on that. But, you know, for me, Lance Vance, killing Lance Vance didn't really hurt me at all, and the betrayal didn't hurt me that much, but, you know, that's just me. It's cool to kill Sonny, and the ending cutscene is really, really, really cinematic to me, with a house full of blood, and Tommy kind of just realizing that he won. Okay, so now let's talk about the mission design. I'm gonna be honest, the missions in this game are just good. There are seriously no bad missions. The only bad mission I can think of is the mission where you end up having to take, you know, a mini little helicopter and drop bombs inside of a building. But that's just because the controls are a little wonky. But even then, if you get used to the controls, it's not that bad. Like, seriously, there is zero missions that are bad, which is such a huge improvement from GTA 3. GTA 3, I can think of multiple missions I instantly think of and say, man, I hate them. In fact, when I think of the game, I think of missions that are bad first. This game, I think of good missions first, which is such a huge improvement. There's seriously not even a single mission that's bad. Now, let's go into why they're good. One, variety. There's so much good variety. You got missions from where you're, you know, in a chopper, you know, taking down a bunch of men inside of like a island that's full of dangerous men. You got missions where, you know, you're assassinating someone with a chainsaw on the streets, or you're part of a riot and trying to make a riot. Like, there's just so much variety, and it makes it so that the game never feels that stale. Like, sure, they reuse the same ideas. Like, I can name multiple assassination missions, but they're all different with the weapons and the way it's set up. Like, for example, the one mission where you have to go and whack someone out with a golf course is absolutely insane and fun because what game do you think of? Like, what game actually throws you into a golf course and has you whack you some guy out with a golf club, and he could get away in a golf cart, and then you have to chase him on your own golf cart? It's really engaging. The only downside of these missions designs, sometimes it feels like they hold your hand a little too much. As much as I love the variety and I love the gameplay, and I love that there's not really difficulty as much. The way they set up missions is kind of annoying to me. Like, every single mission starts off with an overview that you cannot skip, talking about every single aspect that'll happen. And if anything new pops up in the mission, they have to pause the mission basically and have a camera point out every single thing that's going to happen. What ends up happening is the game feels a lot more scripted, not as much as like oh, this is happening because of story, but rather like a Mario level. And that's just true for any level, really. I mean, seriously, like, it's cool to get a text overview, that's fine by me, but having a cinematic shot every single time anything new pops up to show off what's happening, and it takes like 10 to 30 seconds to get through, is extreme, and it just makes me feel disconnected from the story sometimes. Like, some of these missions really do not feel like they're part of the story. They feel like levels, which is not a good thing. Frankly, I think a lot of the times this could be solved by having maybe NPCs nearby, or if there is any NPCs, talking to the player and telling them, hey, this is what we're going to do next, or oh, look out, or whatever, right? To get more interaction from NPCs. Let's move on to gameplay. Alright, with gameplay, I'm going to be covering basically the map, the gunfights, like gunplay, and the cops. Those are the main things I'll be covering. I'm sure there's more to cover in the gameplay, but those are like the core elements of the game that need to be talked about. So first we're going to talk about the map. I'm going to be honest. At first I didn't really like the map. And I think the main problem with the map, if I'm going to be honest, is the amount of twists and turns and just alleyways that lead nowhere and stuff. It's just the confusing maze of a layout. Even after 100%ing this game, I still don't really always know where I'm going. Like, there's too many twists and turns and bridges and stuff that just lead all over the place. And frankly, I don't know why. Like, especially in the area you start out in, it's like Ocean View area, bro. Like that area is diabolically like confusing, in my opinion. I mean, everywhere is confusing. You look at the airport, for example, near the military area, and tell me you wouldn't get lost if you know, easily, or you don't get lost. Like, yeah, it's so easy to get lost and go, where am I? I just, I don't know why they laid out the map like this. I don't think the map is necessarily bad, but this is where I'm gonna have some bias. I'm just gonna say my opinion. I think I prefer GTA 3's map just because it feels more realistic and grounded in reality than Vice City. I know that Vice City is colorful and, you know, looks the way it does because it's Florida, but personally, I'm just more of a fan of the New York style anyways. I'm just gonna say that's my opinion. You can hate on me for that one, okay? I like it more grounded in reality. Now, if there's some positives with the map, it's definitely the fact that there's a lot more unique areas. For example, there's a junkyard, there's a boatyard, you know, you got your airport, your military base. You know, it's pretty cool. I like that. And also, I like how buildings, you can actually go into buildings now. That's another thing I forgot about. You know, it makes the world feel just a little bit more believable when you can actually go into some of these buildings. Not all of them, but mainly the asset mission buildings. But it's the fact that in the principle you could go in them, like the pizza place. I can go in there. If I want to go into the sheriff's office, I can. And they added the touch where you get, you know, a wanted level if you go into unwanted places of the police department, which I think is a nice touch. Like, obviously, the police don't want you wandering around in the sheriff's office. You know, it's just not happening. Now let's talk about the gunplay. I'm gonna be honest, the gunplay in this game feels better, even though it kind of feels similar to GTA 3. And I think the reason why is one, the gun variety. I love how almost every gun has a variety. You got multiple different assault rifles, multiple different SMGs, you know, it's pretty nice. And the best part is, you know, enemies don't just destroy you in 5 seconds when you see them. So it's a lot more survivable. Probably because they give you more HP and shield. But even then, I just felt like gunfights were a lot more reasonable to take on in this game than they were in previous games. And I don't know what to attribute that to. Even with low health, I felt more likely to survive. And then the cops. My God, they improved the cops by a lot. Like, I'm honestly kind of shocked at how much they improved the cops. Now, you might think, oh, that's not true, but they added some unique features I haven't seen in any other GTA. For example, one, the cops actually feel like they're trying to pit maneuver you sometimes, which I really appreciate. Like, they feel like they're trying to actually stop you. In GTA 3, for example, the cops just kind of rammed into you. Like, that was about it. But in this game, they try to, like, swerve in front of you and stop so you get stopped, or pit maneuver you. Or the best one is when you get to a higher enough wanted level, they start throwing out spike strips, which I think is one of the coolest ideas ever that I have not seen in another game. And frankly, I think this is stupendously innovative. And the best part is my first time getting a high wanted level in this game actually felt fun, which I haven't felt by the cops in a GTA game in years. Like, I haven't felt that enjoyment of like, oh my God, I'm trying to outrun the cops. This is stupendously fun. This game has unique cops I haven't seen in anything. Like GTA 5 and even GTA 4 don't have cops like this. And these are games that came out after this. The only complaint I have with cops in this game, really, and the same complaint I had in GTA 3, is the fact that the spray and pray exists. I mean, it's cooler now because, oh, if you commit a crime after going to spray and pray, it immediately gives you back your old wanted level. That's cool, but realistically, am I really going to run over a person or something when I have no, like, as soon as I get out of a spray and pray? Probably not. I guess it's nice to keep you a little more on edge for a bit, but the spray and pray is just too OP. I don't know why they still have it. I mean, the principle of it is like it's so cheap and it's too OP for what it does. Like, it's so cheap for what it does. It removes your wanted level, guaranteed. Like, you literally could have cops on you eating your dick. I mean, okay, well, that was not what I meant to say. Eating your ass, right? They're munching it, and they're literally would just go away instantly the second you go in there. Like, bro, what? Are you kidding me? They don't, like, it feels stupid. Now let's talk about the side content. I'm going to keep this a little more brief because, frankly, you know, obviously, there's a lot of content. The big thing about the content in this game that I love is the variety. They really went all out with this. I mean, there's a lot of cool missions that are not related to killing people or committing crimes. Like, you got, like, street races, you got driving a helicopter around, you got missions where you're driving and doing wheelies on top of skyscrapers. There's so much variety. It's so interesting. Like, I genuinely am just shocked. There's so many great things. You look at the stadium where there's 3 different contests you can do, and it's pretty interesting. Seriously, there's not much bad things here. The only real side content that I genuinely feel it like is just kind of, well, actually, the 2 pieces of side content that I think is not that great. Taxi missions, I don't know why they exist. I mean, 100 of them, really? That took me like 2 to 3 hours to do. I'm not even kidding. It's ridiculous. And the other thing I don't really like as much was the garage. Basically, GTA 3 also had this where you collect a bunch of different cars and you get a reward. This game, the reward is a lot more lackluster, and the cars are, they're cool, I guess. I think the problem is the reward is getting unique cars you probably won't get anywhere else from where like I don't see anyone driving a Deluxo on the streets. But also it's like it's only at this garage, so the only time you're going to getting a Deluxo is if you just choose to go to that garage, which I guess you can, but I'm not doing that every time I load into the game. It's too inconvenient. I feel like the reward would have been cooler if you could access all the cars you put in. That's just my opinion. I feel like that was a lot more genius with GTA 3 because the work you put in paid off for each car. But I'm not going to go to everything because there's too much content to go over. But I genuinely feel like the 100% experience was pretty enjoyable. I don't really have many complaints about, the 100% experience besides, some of the missions being a little lackluster, mainly the asset missions. Because like again, another asset mission that I hate, it kind of is the stupid ice cream place where you're just selling drugs to 50 different people. Boring. I'm not trying to do that. And you also get your own unique little plot lines, and you get to get characters you see out throughout the story kind of have their own little plot lines, which I appreciate. So if you're into like developing the characters a little bit more, you definitely should be playing the side content. Overall, this game is, in my opinion, 7 out of 10. That means it's good. I don't think it's great necessarily, but it's good. The main story is pretty solid, but it does kind of fall off in the later half, specifically the end half, which kind of holds the game back. While the mission design is good, there wasn't like enough missions that blew my socks off. The 100% experience is pretty good, but there was some fluff to it. And the gameplay's good, but again, I didn't like the map all that much. So frankly, I feel like a 7 out of 10 for me personally is a fair rating. It's pretty solid. Like, it's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, and I definitely would recommend it to people. But I do think that people who say this is the greatest GTA probably say that because for the time it was released, I would imagine this game is absolutely astonishing. Playing this back 23 years later, for the first time, probably does not give you, actually, I know it doesn't give you the same experience you would get. And obviously there's been better games that were released by Rockstar themselves after this game. So clearly I have bias towards the fact of there's better games, and I'll be comparing them to better games. Like GTA 4 is just better than this game, in my opinion. And the reason why I bring that up is because I know people probably get mad at me, oh, you rated 7 out of 10, it's way better than that, you just don't see the truth. I mean, it's my opinion, bro. Odds are you probably have too much nostalgia for this game. I'm not saying that it's unfair to rate it a 10 out of 10. You definitely can. People rate whatever you want, but it is what it is. If you enjoyed watching, make sure to like and subscribe, and I appreciate everyone who stuck to the end. Peace.